Let's kill Columbus, Ohio's own Malik Tijōn. Hi, man. How are you doing?
I'm blessed, man. How about yourself?
I'm awesome, man. My first question is just how are you doing today? What type of day are you having?
Yeah, man. Today's a nice little interesting day here in Columbus. It's been a day. Well, first off, for me, what I believe, it's me and my family, my wife and I, we tend to hold the Sabbath today. So it's kind of been more of a day of recuperation, relaxation. You don't really do too much. But I was helping out a little bit, my family, they were kind of getting stuff together, cleaning up and stuff and preparing for the holiday season. And we're going into kind of a blizzard here in Columbus, Ohio. So, it's almost like a snowed in vibe, very snowed in, cozy, warm, So we're just kind of hanging out, man, just kind of thugging it out here. So
Mhm. Awesome. Man, last month you released your new EP, Spanish Moss. Tell me about it and what made you make that project.
yeah, Spanish Moss is a labor of love. It was a very fun project to make. It's actually been in the works since 2022, with the earliest tracks on there being Split and Eyes Wide Shut. I made both of those like three. And way back then, my wife, who was at the time just my girlfriend, she gave me the idea of Spanish Moss. She gave me the name. It was like I think we were talking about something just being silly, and I just said Spanish Moss in conversation. And she was like, that would be a cool project name. Like, and then I kind of made these two songs, and then I feel like God kind of gave me the building blocks to put everything together, and He really wanted me to create basically like almost like Christian hip hop, but with influences of like Alchemist, Earl Sweatshirt, West Side Gun, a lot of that like chop soul sample type stuff, but then just bringing my own element to it, the all R&B kind of singy, rapping and singing kind of combination stuff. And over time, it just slowly came together, slowly transformed into what it became, and I'm just very proud of how everything was very God led. And story wise, it's very simple. It's based off of a scripture. I'm trying to find the one real quick, but it is in uh hold on real quick, I'll find it. But it's based off of a scripture that is in the Old Testament, where basically anytime that God would interact with somebody in the Old Testament, he would have them like they would build a shrine or build something like as a memorial to basically like I encountered God in this area. So one of the things that God said is in one of the particular things is he basically was like, hey, um, don't use any kind of like chiseled stone or any kind of like things that human hands have made to create this. So he was like, when you make basically he would tell them like if you're gonna make a memorial, make out of stuff that's like my stuff. So use like
Hmm.
rocks that you find around the environment, use like wood from a tree, but don't be like using bricks and stuff that y'all made, use stuff that honors me. And he uses the term the unhewn stone. So that's kind of where the whole vibe of Spanish moss is. It's basically looking at nature and looking at just like the natural beauty God has given us and giving glory and praise to God for what he's given us through the means of that. You feel me? So like
Yeah.
it's like praising God through looking at the beautiful stuff he's given us and like just being thankful that like we can go outside and have trees and breathe fresh air and have like nature and the sun and shining suns and stuff. So it's
Hmm.
just looking at nature to praise God, basically.
Yeah. And like I know you did not grow up like in a very Christian household. Like I know like your grandma was
Right.
Muslim, your mom was like more
Right.
on some agnostic side. How did you
Agnostic.
manage agnostic? Yeah, how did you manage to find like this Christian path and why did you like decide to pursue it so heavily?
Yeah, yeah. So it's kind of a bit of a long story, so I'll try to tell you the short version. My mom still kind of is a little bit agnostic, but I think she's starting to super see more and more of the supernatural stuff that God is doing every day in my life, my brother's life, everything, and it all kind of ties to the story. But yeah, I was not raised like that at all. I had no aunties, I had nobody telling me to go to church, nothing like that, nothing like that. Like we were just raised from my mom was just like, hey, just try to be a good person. She raised us to just be chill. And yeah, man, a lot of that came about because of just a lot of the stuff with Ledge Kale beforehand. So I built a name up for myself out of college as Ledge Kale. I had actually been going by Ledge Kale since my high school days. And when I went to college, I started to kind of built a really big name for myself online. Like I'm talking like 10s, 20, 30, 40. I think even now, if you check my SoundCloud, I'm at like 40,000, 50,000 followers, and I've had songs like hit millions of plays on SoundCloud. So,
Mhm.
as you could probably expect, through that community and being cool and coming up with people like Masego, J Rob, The Count, all these kind of big names now, um, like me getting such a huge effect, it caught the attention of like bigger people in the industry, like Hollywood and LA and that kind of stuff. So I had some people reaching out that led to me eventually producing I Spy. And it really, I say, just to really sum it up, it came with a lot of lessons and a lot of dark times in my life. And I feel like, and some of the dark times were self-inflicted, other the dark times were outside, outwardly from other people and forces and things like that.
Mhm.
So a big part of it was just a really it was 2020. And what people may not know about my story and about me finding my way to Christ is that, and this sometimes shocks people, is that actually before I found my way to Christ, before I didn't just like go from not knowing, like not being religious at all or having any kind of thing like that to just suddenly finding Christ. I actually went into like spirituality first, and I went into it very heavily, very, very heavily. I was super into zodiac signs and astrology and meditation and just all these different things. Like I was just super into it, super, super into it. I was like, and not just like the base level zodiac stuff, dog. I'm talking risings, moons, your house and Venus and all this stuff, dude. And I was doing that and I was living that out, man. In 2020, it was like that's the first kind of when I first awakened to spirituality. That's kind of where it came, where it led me first. And what ended up happening is that at first I didn't realize it, but as I continued to be deeper on that path, more and more and more so, I just realized and looked up and realized my life got dark. It got dark quick, and it already was kind of dark, but like it got way darker when I started picking that stuff up, man. And then just the people I started being around, the people I started meeting, I went into full blown like I went from just being like astrology, being serious about it, to dang near dabbling in like witchcraft and like just straight up satanic ritual type stuff, man.
Mhm.
And a lot of that, I'm not gonna really put too many people on blast, but a lot of that came through my ex and other people around me too out in Hollywood. I was around some pretty big names out in Hollywood who the dark stuff they participated in, they wanted to bring me into it. And even though I didn't know God, I always had this vibe when something was just a little weird for me. Like this is kind of just too weird, you know?
Yeah.
So I started backing off from it. And yeah, it just got real dark, especially a lot with my ex. You know, she was full blown witch, and at the time, I didn't. You know, I was still in the belief that there could be good witches, bad witches, whatever. So I just was like, let her do whatever. She was, I'm gonna do a spell on you, but certain stuff she would do, I'm like, I don't want. I'm good on that. And then eventually, our relationship spiraled into chaos, man. It already was kind of chaotic from the beginning, but it just went bad. And it got to the point where my whole life was unraveling, bro. Like I was an alcoholic. I already kind of dealt with light alcoholism, but I was really dealing with it. And I was also super like had full blown anxiety attacks, anxiety, depression, and long episodes. What else? Oh, I was addicted to smoking weed. I smoked weed like a chimney every single day. Was getting drunk all the time. Meanwhile, I'm in rooms with like some of the biggest names in hip hop. I mean, I was some of the biggest people behind closed doors, but like my life was a mess and I was not at peace at all, dog. And eventually I just fully cut it off with that girl. I was like, I'm done. I just cut her off, stopped talking to her. I told her in person we're done, moved all my stuff back from the West Coast back to my hometown in Ohio. And then over that next year of 2021, and me just being back home, I went on this deep process of healing. And what's so crazy, what I tell people about how I found Christ, is I would have never in a million years thought it was him. I wasn't looking for him. I didn't think that it was him. I didn't even bat my eye in the direction of Christianity at all. You know what I'm saying? Like, but he found me supernaturally. Like, and it was a slow process over 2021. I literally just it started with very slow things. And the thing I think is so dope about God is God will meet you at where you are, but he loves you so much, he'll never leave you at where you are. So what he ended up doing is that he started kind of reaching out to me and reaching out to me in things I already was watching. So because I went through so many dark, weird stuff in LA that I couldn't explain, I started to become more prone to watching like conspiracy videos and looking into things like Illuminati, Masons, and stuff like that. Because I was just like, what happened to me out there? What was that? You know? And he started slowly leaking into that. And I started finding like the first thing is I found this pastor dude, and I didn't really care about bro being a pastor, but I liked how he explained all of like the Illuminati and the dark stuff. So I started watching that, and he started kind of sprinkling in interconnections between the Bible. And I didn't really care about it, but I kind of was just listening. And as I kept listening to dude, I started realizing how much there's a lot of connections between like the weird stuff going on in the world right now and what this book is saying,
Yeah.
And then even another thing that happened too is that my brothers, because the Lord didn't just save me at that time, he saved my brothers and my cousins too. And you can see, just like the word says about the fruit on our lives. And I'll explain all that too. But my cousins, my younger brothers and cousins at the time, they were really into red pill alpha male content at the time. They were watching like red pill, like that. By the way, terrible, terrible for men. You know what I'm saying? Like the stuff, especially at least the stuff that it tries to tell you, like have a bunch of different women, have women on rotation, treat women like trash. And it sucks because there's so many men out here that don't know what it means to be a man, and their soul is aching for something to tell them what to do. So when this guy comes in and gives you this terrible advice, and especially if you already feel like you've been hurt, you don't got a girlfriend, women have treated you bad, or you've been cheated on, you're gonna buy into that. So my brothers was listening and cousins was listening to that. And I always was like, I don't know about that. But then what happened was there was one guy that was really popular in that scene that he suddenly had a supernatural come into Christ moment. And he 180 his entire channel and started and went from doing red pill to start doing stuff about Christ and about God. So we were watching him before, and he was one of the only ones I actually watched with him. We were watching him before, and then he switched to his content. So we just kept watching him. And as he kept covering more stuff about God, we were just like, that kind of makes sense. The stuff he's talking about, like some stuff he's saying kind of makes sense, And then it all kind of culminated more and more of the Lord, like taking me out of that place of chaos and lack of peace. And and then me and my family, we moved down to Atlanta, where we were down there for 3 years. And literally, every single thing that I was dealing with, the alcoholism, the weed addiction, especially the mental illness, the anxiety, the depression, it all just faded away slowly, faded away by his hand. And like to this day, I'm very proud and thankful of God to say that like I don't deal with anxiety anymore. I don't deal with depression. I used to have to take medicine. The doctors ain't know what happened to me. They can't explain it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not addicted. I don't smoke weed anymore. I haven't had weed in like 2 years, 3 years. You know what I'm saying? I used to be addicted to alcohol. Now I'm not addicted to alcohol like I used to be. I can enjoy beverages here and there, but I tend to not drink. So yeah, man, he 180 everything around, transformed my whole life around. And I was never looking for him, but he found me. And he didn't find me in the church with somebody telling me about him. He found me in my apartment down in Atlanta, and he saved my life, and not only transformed my life, but turned my life around, turned my younger brother's life around, and now turned my cousin's life around. And all three of us went from being wilding, smoking, drinking, lost, depressed, anxious, to all of us now, sound of mind, at peace, all either married or on the path to marriage, and actually like knowing what means to be a man, and really like holding your family down. Because being a man for real, if you look at biblically what it means, bro, it just literally means simply to just be selfless in how you care for your family. You take care of your family, you make sure you lead them, and you take responsibility for your shortcomings when you take an L. You know what I'm saying? So like, and I got a wife now, man, and we're happily married. I love her. My family loves her, and her family loves me. And that's a whole nother story, dog. I can tell you a whole nother crazy story of that. How he brought me and my wife together, because that will blow your mind.
We
That
can,
itself is crazy.
yeah, we can talk about it later. But like something that like I noticed you now talking about, that pastor and that like ex red pill dude who turned to Christ kind of educated
Yeah.
you towards like considering Christianity. I'll say it like that. Would you say that you making like this kind of music, and like I saw a video of you making like who is Jesus explanation.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Would
Right.
you say you make stuff like that, trying to reach out to people the same way these two people and like some other people also reached out to you?
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. Especially because like that's and it's not even the funny thing is it's just it's kind of like intuitive, like it's like because the funny thing about it is those guys they kind of gave me little sprinkles of it, but then as I kind of eventually 2021 or August 2021, that's when I really 100% was like, I'm going to see what Christ is talking about. And I got a Bible for myself, got a Bible for my brother at the time. And what I didn't know was my wife, who at the time I had no idea who she was, she also got saved at the same time I did. And we were worlds apart. We didn't meet each other until February of that next year. So he saved us both at the same time, separate from each other. So yeah, I decided to make the switch to do Christian music for two reasons. One, because I felt God pulled me strongly, and I had all these, it was hard, but I had all these worldly connections, and I was making money, bro. I was making solid, good money in like the worldly space, working with these big non-Christian artists. But I just felt God really wanted me. He was like, I want you to use your talents to help people, to not just for enriching yourself, but to help other people and transform people's lives. So I started doing it, man. And I just, a lot of people don't realize it. My real name is Malik Keith, but the name Malik Tijōn's my middle name. So it's like, I just decided to just start being me and being authentic with myself. So it's definitely, man, 100% that kind of thing. And I actually think that's one of the major goals and tasks God has placed on my life specifically is there is so many people with music that they will be more open to listen to Christian music maybe, but a lot of in the past, we only had Lecrae and it was kind of boring, So I think God wanted to almost use me as like a secret weapon and like, let's make music that when people turn it on, they're like, this sound dang near better than the normal stuff, like I don't mind. And if you notice when you hear my music, I do talk about Jesus, but a lot of the music as well, it's kind of like low key. So I'm like, I just promote things that point to Jesus too. So I'm not over here talking about, I got 8 bad bees and they all shaking booty in the club. I talk about how I love my wife and that having a wife is a great thing and being married is a great thing, but it's got to be with somebody you love. So it's like, it's not always like Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. Sometimes it's like, maybe not Jesus, Jesus, but this thing here that directly is from Jesus or this thing that's from Jesus, so yeah.
Something more subtle to like not for people to not feel like you're too much in their face. We just said for
Exactly,
like that.
and let them make. Yeah, because the thing about it, man, is where some Christians mess up is they try to make everything. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying when I say this, I'm not saying that it's not important or that this is not drastic of something that needs to happen, for each person, but at the end of the day, it is each person's decision of why they will consider Christ and what they would do. And even just now, I just discipled and brought my little cousin down into Christ when I was down in Florida in September. And she had no background in Christ. She literally was against it at the beginning. But I sat down with her and I told her, I said, each person in this room, like I brought her to a place where everybody's praising. I said, each person in this room, they didn't choose Jesus because their parents just told them you better follow Jesus. They chose Jesus because he supernaturally showed up and saved each one of their lives when no one else was there for them. He popped up with each one of them and helped them, and even earlier in the conversation me and her had when we were talking before, she was like, it's one of the things that some people say. And they'll be like, well, if God did this huge miracle and he parted the Red Sea, why don't we see God do stuff like that anymore? And I said, you do, but you just don't know it's God. That's the problem. And I said, let me ask you a question. Which one is more impressive? If you just see God split a giant sea in front of, I don't know, maybe like 500,000 people, 250,000 people, or if God shows up for billions of people every day and does hand-drawn miracles for each one of them, hand-tailored to their particular circumstance and what they're going through. So when you're going through something and you don't got money for that rent and this thing, and I'm going through something and my heart is broken, at the same time, God shows up to me, you, and everyone else who calls on him, and he helps them like at various times, and it might not be the way you expect, but he does. So it's like that to me is more impressive. That's more of a showcase of like how insanely powerful God is for him to show up all the time in billions of people's lives and help them when they don't expect it. You know what I'm saying? Than just splitting a sea. And that's what I was basically alluding to later on, where I'm like, each one of these people, they praising God in this room with happiness and tears falling out their eyes, not because their parents told them it's the right way, but because the Bible says that you got to taste the fruit for yourself and see that it's good. So like, they went of their own when their life was a mess and they went and they didn't expect it. A lot of people, some people did, some people didn't. But in my case, I didn't expect it. But eventually I tasted a little bit of the fruit and I'm like, oh, I took another bite. And I'm like, oh, then I ate the whole thing. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? And then and you slowly, you just taste it for yourself. Nobody's ever gonna be able to prove to you that like God is real or not real. You have to, and the Bible says this, like you going, that's why there's so many atheists that are always like, show me God's real, show me proof. The Bible says you can't show people proof. They have to go for themselves and without having a hardened heart, soften their heart to see and to be open to the idea that maybe, just maybe, God is real, and maybe, just maybe, it is Jesus. And let him prove to you for yourself in your own life of him showing up again and again and again when you need him most, that he's who he says he is and that he is
Mm-hmm.
God.
Okay.
So,
And like, what would you say is like your favorite like Bible verse? What is like the most inspiring
oh,
to you?
oh yeah, easy, man. I have a few, but my favorite Bible verse is very simple. It's in Joshua. I actually have it on my, I usually have it on my, what the heck? I have it on my profile, but I took it down recently because I was just like, I'm trying to simplify it. But give me a second, I'll pull it up. Yeah, it is Joshua. My favorite Bible verse of all time is Joshua 24:15. And it just is simple. It says, and if it seems evil to you to serve the Lord, choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your fathers served that were on the other side of the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. That's my favorite verse of the whole Bible. I love that verse specifically because of the 2 points of choose this day who you will serve. And then my favorite part of the whole thing is, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And I think that that goes back to the point I just said to you, which is that like Christians take the wrong approach. Yes, it is very important that every person on the earth, on the planet, if possible, could really come to know Jesus as their Lord and Savior. But you're not going to get there by forcing people. I can't be sit here and put a gun to your head and be like, you better choose Jesus. You have to find Jesus for yourself. And all I can do is tell you about what he's done in my life, tell you about how he's transformed my life. And you can see through knowing me and being friends with me, you can be like, dang, Ledge before was an alcoholic who was like crashing out and blacking out and fighting people in the club. And now this guy don't really drink all like that and is a whole different person.
Mm-hmm.
It behaves completely differently than who he was. You know, that's all I can do. You know, it's almost the famous saying like you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink, man. You know, it's God's job to help you drink the water. But all I can do is just say, hey, there's some water here.
Mm-hmm. And like,
You know.
uh, to switch the topic a little bit, like I know you have your own business called Mount Vernon, to which you offer
Yeah.
many things when it comes to many kinds of productions. How would you say that that affects the way you make music?
Just what do you mean, like being a business owner?
Uh, yeah, stuff like that, but also like what you do. Like it is tied to music, but do you think like you, if you didn't have that business, like your music would sound much differently?
Um, I don't know. I'd say no because there's a good period of time where as Ledge Kale, I didn't have Mount Vernon. Mount Vernon was formed in 2018 or 2017. I've been doing Ledge Kale since 2014. And
Mm-hmm.
actually before that, but professionally, when I started making a name for myself was like 2014. So I've always just been me, you know. And I think that the beautiful thing about it is everything I do, whether it's a business, whether it's doing my cinematography, because I have a second business now with my brother where we do like cinematography work and stuff, even though it's still through Mount Vernon, but it's like the actual production. So sometimes we just do work outside of Mount Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
But all of that, man, it's all kind of like an extension of me and my creativeness of what God has blessed me with. So it's like I think that maybe I'd say it's maybe the wrong way to look at it of like, oh, it would sound different because it comes from me. So it's more like it wouldn't be what it was if it didn't extend from the creative aura
Mm-hmm.
or force that God gave me, you know.
Mm-hmm. And like,
So
I know you started producing when you was like 10, and I know that you like
mhm.
were like in a school band, and like the first instrument you played was like marimbas or something, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
man, you freaking did your homework.
Yeah. And like, do you think that those kinds of things impacted how you make your music like almost 2 decades later, like those early experiences?
Yes. Yes, man, yes. I regularly, literally even the other day, my younger brother, all my whole family, all my me and my all my siblings, we're all musical, all of us. Me and my brother, my middle brother Jaden, he's actually a rapper. He doesn't do Christian rap, but he just does rap. But he also has a relationship with Jesus, and he loves Jesus.
Mhm.
He's the one I say who got saved. And then we have a younger brother who our younger brother is very interesting because he's 16. He is naturally extremely talented with music. He plays in jazz band at his school. He's in band. He can sing all this different stuff, but he is more on the nerdy side. So even though he has all these talents, he's kind of more like, I'm gonna just do some code, you know, like
Yeah.
so.
Hmm.
He kind of does all that stuff. But I say it like this: all these things, they all molded me or shaped me. And like I did marimba and marimba band in middle school, which was like for me grade 6 to 8. And if it wasn't for Mr. Jones, who was my teacher through all 3 of them years, much of the stuff that I know now, like now I play bass. I play bass guitar. I play a little bit of piano, a little bit of guitar. Um, I wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for Mr. Jones and all the fundamental stuff he taught me. He taught me how to read music. He taught me how to read notes. He taught me how to look at a piano and know what the notes are by heart. So many of these different things that like are day one skills that I need as a musician. They come, especially that marimba band. They came from that type of stuff in those times. So if it
Hmm.
wasn't for him, man, I wouldn't be where I am now.
And like you talk a lot about your family, but I know until like the success of I Spy, they were not like the most supporting people.
Yeah.
Would you how would you say that that lack of support by family members impacted your determination to do music full
Yeah.
time?
Man, it did two things simultaneously. One, it really made me like depressed and sad, man. Especially because a big thing about it was I was in college. And long story short, I ended up dropping out of college to pursue music full time because basically when I went to college, and it was a huge emphasis on me as the oldest in my household, like you have to go to college because like most of my family didn't go to college. No one graduated. My mom didn't go to college. So there was a huge emphasis like you're the one who's going to fix the family by going to college. And when I went, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just did music and I knew I liked it, but I didn't know I wanted to do that as my job yet. So while I was in school, I just was like kind of floating in like in a place where I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't go with a set thing of what to do. And as time went on, two things happened. I started more so one, I started like doing worse in studies, but it was because I started leaning more and more into music. And I really figured out that music is what I freaking love to do every day of my life. I love it. And I'll do that as my job. And my family, because I dropped out, my mom really was not at the time, did not see the vision, was very angry with me. She felt like I wasted a lot of her money, which I did. And a lot of the family, nobody really came out and outright condemned me directly besides my mom. But like there was lots of whispers along my family of like, oh, Malik's the failure, Malik the dropout. But it made me sad and depressed, but at the same time, it made me like hungry, subtly hungry. Like I was like, and the funny thing about it is I was hungry, but I already was hungry. Like it was like the path was so natural to me, man. Like I literally dropped out of school. And then right after I dropped out of college, like within like the next couple of months, I got flown out to LA and I was out in LA for like 4 months, like in Beverly Hills, dude, my first time out there. So it was like crazy. And just a natural progression. But once they saw it, everybody transformed. And I say it like this: I could be walking around with a ball of hate in my chest and be like, y'all didn't believe in me, and now y'all all turning around. Da, 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 da. But I say it like this: the thing that to me was the most important thing was that my family had never seen somebody go into a field or career like that and succeed. And when they saw that I did it and I paved the way, it changed their entire family's outlook on creative careers, and it made it so that everyone else who was younger than me and my family, which there are many, that they could all chase their dreams. And I want to be a podcaster. I want to be a writer. I want to be an author. I want to be anything that's not like a plumber or something. And the family would like maybe let them do it, and not hate on them.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing for me was that my mom, when she saw, oh man, my son made a lot of money off this song. My son is successful off this song. It made her way more open to the idea of like my younger brothers can do it. My cousins can do it.
Mhm.
And not only with them, but extended family, friends, all of us, they all saw the success story. And because of that, it made them be like, dang, well, shoot, if my son say he want to be a rapper, I might let him do it. You know, and to me,
Yeah.
that meant everything. That meant more than the fame, more than them recognizing me being successful. You know.
Hmm. Well, you mentioned you knowing music theory, and like I know a couple of years ago you were talking about how it's very important for a musician to have like two things. Like one was music theory, and the other one was soul, if I'm not mistaken.
Mhm.
And like
Yeah.
since then, like there has been like this rise of young artists like blowing up on SoundCloud, and not all of them are really like that musically educated. Do you still have that sort of an opinion, knowing that they are artists and like they were before artists too, but especially now, not knowing any of those stuff and making quality music?
Yeah, well, hold on. So even I'd say even this, and maybe I didn't convey it enough in that point. Even when I said that before, the funny thing is that dude, back then, I didn't even know that much theory as I was saying that. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's always, and let me clarify the position right now. The soul is always way more important because that soul comes from God. So like even all my natural talents, half the music that you heard from me, dog, I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but God gave the inspiration supernaturally to me to know what I'm doing and just to do it off of feeling. So first off, feeling and making sure you getting it derived from God to do it, always more important than music theory. You can do it without the music theory if you got that soul and that feeling from God. Period. Period. And even now, I'm not the most like super ultra music theory trained guy. Like I can't be up here like that's A7 sus 9. Like I don't know that stuff, man. But I do know when something feels right. So I would never look at like these young guys coming up and they don't know what they're playing, but they're making beautiful music ever. I would never be like, oh, you don't know your theory, so get out of here. Like that's
Yeah.
silly, dude. Like nah, this is great music, and even if you don't know the what you're doing, your soul knows, and your soul is getting it from God, which is giving it to you to know what you're doing it. So as long as he's downloading and giving you that stuff, dude, you locked in with me. It's
Mhm.
important. It is important, and I will say this on my journey, as I've moved, because a big thing with me moving to neo soul and moving, like if you look at the old Ledge Kale stuff, a lot of it was trap based and hip hop based. I still do hip hop, but I really wanted to be more challenged amongst myself. And as a musician, I just think, as you start to look for more challenge, you're gonna move towards like more theory and understanding the musical, like what is the science behind it more. So,
Mhm.
and it's helped me, man. As I've learned it, it has helped me so much, especially my bass playing, man. I went from barely being able to play on one string to now I'm over here using the whole neck, and I'm like pretty good at bass now. So,
Mhm.
you know,
And you announced your debut alt R&B album that's dropping next summer called Lucky
yeah,
Strike. And
yeah.
what can you tell me about the project and what can the people expect?
Yeah, I am. I can't even lie. I am over the moon excited for everybody to hear Lucky Strike. Lucky Strike has been in the works for, it's honestly been the longest I've worked on one single project at once. It's been in the works for almost 6 to 7 years. And easily is the best body of work I've ever done in my life. And not just because of me saying it, but because of the countless of like insider friends, family, people around me who played it. Everybody is in unanimous like agreement about this. Like, dude, you have made something special from like the story I've crafted, the skits, just the instrumentation. And I feel like I've never made such an advanced body of work that really showcases me for who I am, but also like kind of interweaves into it like God's story. And Lucky Strike is a tale and a sonic body of work for people who are either on the fence about God, people who love God, or people who don't know God at all. And that's a big thing about like a major central theme is somebody who doesn't know God going in and slowly coming to the by the end of the album to kind of start to have an understanding of who he is. And I'm just excited, man. I'm so excited for y'all to hear it. I'm excited for all the videos, man. It's the best videos I've ever done in my life. We got 5 videos coming and they're looking great, looking like straight up like a record label helped us and we just did it ourselves. So I'm very excited for everybody to hear Lucky Strike. Even just my favorite thing about the whole album, if I have to say, is the instrumentation. that's gonna be a big theme going forward in like my major projects. Like Spanish Moss is kind of like a little divot and doing something extra, a little like a side quest, you know.
Hmm.
But my core music that I want to be remembered for, it's gonna have a lot of live instrumentation throughout it. Real musicians playing real instruments all throughout the album. So
Mm.
I'm real excited for people to hear just what me and a group of people who just believed in me helped me build, you know.
Yeah, and like your music has lately been like very versatile. Like it's not like you said, like before it was more just straight hip hop. Now there's R&B, there's funk, there's neo soul, there's all these like different
Yeah.
things and hip hop. So like who would you
Yeah.
say on Lucky Strike, let's say a collaboration, and you have all the connections uh dead and alive, who would you
Yeah.
put on that project? It doesn't need to be like
Oh,
vocally, can be a producer too, but who do you
yeah.
think would be like an amazing person to be on Lucky Strike?
Easily, if I had to, is it just one person?
I mean, you can say multiple, yeah. It doesn't matter really.
Okay. Okay. Well, for me, this literally, man, there can only be one guy. Like, because in my brain, especially as like a believer, I kind of got to split into two categories. There's like secular or non-Christian artists, and then there's Christian artists. So if I had to do non-Christian, just legends, there's only one person above everybody else that I would easily not just want to have a lucky strike, but throughout the whole process, and that's D'Angelo. That's D'Angelo.
Oh, yeah,
He's the only guy like
amazing.
D'Angelo. I could choose other people. I could say like Prince or Michael Jackson or
Yeah.
there's even a couple guys like I would maybe like I would love to work with like Leon Thomas, great guy,
Hmm.
very musically dope. Like just many. There's lots of different type of people I like, but D'Angelo,
Yeah.
he's number one, the main person in the secular space, and then in the Christian space, I'd probably say they'd all be alive people. I'd probably say like maybe like Alex Jean, who's a pretty big name in Christian hip hop, or um, maybe like Scooty Wop. All these guys are pretty huge. Like Alex Jean has almost like 500,000 followers on Instagram. So
Mm.
these guys are huge, huge names. Like they're cool with Lecrae and like hanging out with Lecrae and so maybe like Alex Jean, Scooty Wop. Trying to think of who else off the top of my head. Yeah, I don't know. And then as for producers, not on Lucky Strike, but a lot of I have like five producers that I think are the hardest producers in all of music right now. And that's a high bar for me. I have a very, very high level expectation for me to say that about you. There's about four or five of these guys, and I'm very thankful to say that in some capacity or another, the sequel album to Lucky Strike has all of them involved in it already in some way, shape, or form.
Oh,
So I'm yeah
okay. Are there like
on
big
production.
names or are there some
Um,
people
y-
that you know
well,
personally?
it's kind of both. So some of them they're not. I wouldn't say they're big in the same sense of like Timberland or like legends, but they're big in the sense of like right now the name they're making for themselves. Like one of them just now won a Grammy, and another one just got nominated for a Grammy. So like they're quickly they might not be like Timberland and like an old legend, but they're
Mhm.
quickly like working with all the big people and becoming building like real names for themselves out here. So
Yeah, yeah.
and they're just people I found along the way that when I found their music, I'm the type of person, I don't care if you're famous or if you have no following.
Hmm.
If you're talented and I think your music's talented, I want to work with you. It's about music for me. I love
Hmm.
music.
Yeah.
So,
And like I also know like you love anime. I know like even like your project
yeah,
Miyagi
yeah,
was named after the 1988 movie Akira, if I'm not mistaken, right?
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
how would you say that like that love for anime and just like different media outside of music like uh shapes your day-to-day like creative process?
Yeah, I mean, well, just the, our as humans, all of the things we do, the things we ingest and interact with, they just shape us as people in general. For
Hmm.
every human, whether it's music or not. But I'd say for me, anime has always been beloved to me, and one thing I'm very thankful for, and I love Jesus for, is that he actually introduced to me a wonderful wife that also actually really loves anime, and she don't just say she loves anime, dog. She can sit up here and have like in-depth conversations with you about like deep in the lore of like certain animes like Naruto.
Hmm.
She'll sit up here and tell you about like, oh, that was Eight Tails Lee fighting Madara, and I'm like, dog, like that's something that a lot of people don't wouldn't be able to just talk about, but she knows it. But yeah, I'd say this though. I think that as I get older, because I'm turning 30 next year. As I get older, I'm realizing more and more, and I think I'm seeing more and more. And some people think this is sad, but I'm seeing less of an influence of like TV, anime, and stuff on the work I do. I think, but especially before I found Christ, it had a strong impact. Like it was anime was in lots of the works I did quietly. You could see it, even the artworks. It was very Japanese and stuff inspired. And don't get me wrong, I still have a deep love and respect for Japanese culture. It's actually one of me and my wife's dream spots that we want to go to. We're actually planning to go to a cruise there in a couple of years. And I've always wanted to go to Japan. I got tons of friends in Japan from my Ledge Kale days, like musicians and stuff. But I don't know. As I get older, I'm just it's always this quiet part of me, but it's not as like loud and on the forefront as it was when I was younger. And I think it's just because I'm just getting a quiet respect for it, man. Like I just like it. I watch it. I literally just now was watching anime like a night or two ago. Like me and my wife watch shows together. A couple to shout out. We watching Sakamoto Days. We're watching Rama and a half. Trying to think of a couple other ones we're watching. I think we finished the other ones, but and One Piece. Obviously, I'm watching One Piece right now. So yeah, man, I'm still watching great animes, but it's more like I just kind of enjoy them over here, and then I just go to work on music over here. And like I guess they still quietly influence me, but it's not like you probably aren't going to see much things coming out from me anymore where it's going to be like I'm gonna name this after an anime or like it ain't gonna be quite. It doesn't have as much of an influence on me as it used to.
And like this year, like you were speaking about you making music videos, and this year you released like the Astonished music video, the Missing Piece music video.
Yeah,
How do you
yeah.
decide how you want your music videos to look? And like how do they come from an idea to fruition, you know?
You know what, bro? I'm gonna be completely real with you. Mad random as mug. I'd say it like this. Especially for Astonish is a little bit more of it, but I'll have a general vibe about what world I'm trying to create with it, and then really randomly, God helps me put the pieces all together, and it just kind of comes together. Like I'll give you a little bit of inside look. So, Missing Piece, I knew that a lot of Missing Piece didn't really have a vibe to it. I just knew I wanted it to be pretty, have me performing in nice places and nice outfits. And I knew there was one particular scene that was the hardest scene to pull off in all of Missing Piece. And it's during the chorus when I'm walking through Easton, where there's clones of me all around the places I'm walking. I knew that I wanted to do that. And it would just be like I have an idea of little subtle things I want to do. And I just put it all together and slowly kind of make it. With Astonished, I knew when I first made Astonished, God gave me the idea for the cover art of it being like the world is in black and white and I'm in color.
Mm-hmm.
And that's supposed to represent us being separated as believers. We're separated from the world. And then from that idea of me making the cover art of that, I was like, let's just do the whole video like that. So like I painstakingly put that whole video. It took a lot of work, but I put that whole video together. And in terms of the shots, like the shots are really my brothers also, by the way, besides me, we all wear many hats, but my brothers as well, besides being a rapper and a singer and a producer, he also is a cinematographer as well. He has his own camera, he
Mm-hmm.
shoots his own videos. And we both just kind of come together and we just be like, hey, let's go to a place. We're like, this place looks cool. And we kind of just like use our eyes and brains to figure out like what do we want to shoot and what we have to make something look good. So kind of it. I just knew that I wanted to do something that represented Columbus, had that black and white, but color aesthetic to it, and also showcase Gilly Man, which was like a central character and theme to all the Spanish moss.
Mm-hmm. And like, would you say like next summer, since you don't do like many live shows, I'd say, do you think like
Yeah.
after the release of Lucky Strike, you will do more of them, or like even like go on some like small
Yeah.
tour to promote it? Do you think that can happen?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I would love it. I would love it. I think that where it all falls down to is it just falls down to me slowly building my name up and just meeting the right people as God connects me. I say like this, like right now, me and my management, we wanted to do merch, but unfortunately, a lot of this stuff just comes to being realistic of where you are in your status right now. And just I'm making headway, man. I just broke 3K, so that's great. But I'm just not the truth is I'm just not big enough to be able to pull off like to sell out doing a whole tour solo. So I'd probably have to like connect and do a tour where I'm like going on tour with somebody else, or I'm still open to shows. Like actually, I didn't really like announce or like promote too much to say, oh, I did this. But actually this year, I did really well. This year I actually traveled to 5 or 6 different cities, all on missions with God and music. And I actually performed twice this year, once in Chicago and once in LA recently. So I actually performed in Chicago around, and they weren't like, again, I didn't put out too much like, I was in Chicago, here's my performance. So people didn't know about it. But yeah, man, I was out in Chicago in March, and or was it no, sorry, April, early April. And I got invited to come to Chicago and to speak at Columbia College of Music and Design. And they had a Christian club there. And my manager slash cousin is a professor. So he basically set it up for me to be able to come out there. I came out there and speak and performed. And it was cool. And then in LA, actually, with my nonprofit I work with part-time, they're called Unassociated. They do a huge poetry jam where they bring out a huge community of believers and non-believers. And we got to do kind of like a poetry jam, spoken word performance of some of the songs off of Spanish Moss. So it was cool, man. But I'm open to it. I love performing. It was fun. It's so fun to perform and just get everybody turned up. And I'm definitely looking forward to what God does next in 2026 and just like bringing in more performances, bringing in more things, because I'll be scared to do them, but I love doing them. So definitely, if he opens the door for me to tour, I'll do it.
And like also like a bit of a different topic. Like in 2021, you were talking about, and this is like still before you became Malik Tijōn, but like you were
Right.
talking about how you believe that most of the world's problems when it comes to bigotry, but also just hate in general, can be fixed by
Yeah.
those people working on themselves through like meditation and similar things. Like, what
Yeah.
would you say made you think that type of way? Do you still think that?
Um, well, not quite. I mean, I think I still agree with the core point that I made, and that's what sometimes is funny. Like when I look back on some of those old interviews, I sometimes cringe at some of the stuff I was saying back then. I'm just like, oh my goodness, man, because I'm giving out advice about like meditation and fixing yourself, and meanwhile, my life at the time was broken, dude. Like like I'm telling everybody you can fix yourself with this and that, and I'm like getting off the call. You might be talking about the video I did with the drum call guys. I think that's the one I was talking about around that time, but
I
or
don't
maybe it
remember
wasn't. I
the
don't know.
name of the podcast, but
Yeah,
it was a
it's
dude.
fine.
He had like blue eyes. He had also headphones. He's a producer.
Okay,
Is that the dude?
okay. Maybe I don't know. I did a few of them in the past couple years,
Mm,
but yeah, man. Like I was giving that advice out from a place of like at least I felt like that was the right way to go about it, but it wasn't really all the way 100% working in my life. You know what I'm saying? Like I was still not in a place of peace as I was saying that. So um, it's interesting. I still do agree with the key point, and I think that this is a big thing that people don't realize about following Christ is that people think that when you follow Christ, it's like, okay, Christ died for you. So that means you just get to keep being a piece of crap and not working on yourself.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
Christ calls you to be accountable, dog. He calls you to work on yourself. And one of the first things he'll do is before he says, oh, it's the world's, it's that person. He'll be like, it's your fault. What did you do? So
Yeah.
I still agree with the old version of myself that said like, hey, a big reason of what people could do to work on themselves is to work internally. But I think that now that I've arrived at what I feel like actually works and actually transform my life truly, I would amend that statement to say that yes, take a self accountability, take accountability of what you have done and what you said, but then submit it to Christ and submit it to God to then help you transform and to become a better you that you could ever do by yourself. So
Mm,
like it's definitely don't just act like there's nothing, you've never done nothing wrong, and like admit to your faults, repent, admit to your faults, but then transform and pivot. That's even what people don't realize about the word repent. That's what that word actually means. It don't mean just like, oh, I'm sorry, God. It actually means to a transformation or a 180 of mindset. So it means like, okay, dang, I was moving this way. I'm going to turn around and now move this way in agreement with God. So I was like, oh man, I smacked that person because I was mad. Dang, I shouldn't have did that. And sometimes that repentance means turning away from that and not doing that anymore. But it also means, hey, make amends with that person. Tell that person you're sorry for doing that.
mhm.
Take accountability for what you did. If you have anger issues, go to get some therapy. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
And turn away. So Yeah, man, that's kind of my amendment to that statement is that we need God's help for sure. It doesn't mean don't take accountability for your actions. And in fact, God will, that's one of the first things he will do is lead you to take accountability for your own actions. But trying to live life without him is difficult, man. It's
Mhm.
difficult. And I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, honestly.
Mhm.
So
And like, um, you've been like speaking about how much you love your wife and how much she means to you. Like, I even know
yeah.
like on songs like I think like "Show You Off," you mentioned
Hmm.
uh, how much she means to you. And like, would you say like being her being present, pardon me, uh, impacts your music? Because I know it impacts your life. That's obvious. But do you
Right.
think if you were making music and you were still with her, do you think she would like spark up something in you to come back to music?
Oh yeah, man. And not only that, she has done that, because most people they don't see the outside. But the truth is, when you're really a musician and you do this, it's not just like 100% music all the time. Dude, there was a point in time where I didn't touch my computer. I didn't touch anything music for like 3 months, four
Mm-hmm.
months. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's the beautiful thing about how all this combines together, like how it all is intertwined and they're all like unravelable roots. You can't pull them apart from each other. Of
Mm-hmm.
like me and my relationship with God and how God's influence on me on music is and my love for my wife and God bringing me my wife, and then my wife's relationship with God and her love of God and Jesus, and how both of those things come together with almost like a triangle of us with God at the top. So it's like her and God together are the transformative thing that have always been like the thing that has just taken me to a new level many times, man. Many times. Like my wife is when you get a really great wife from the Lord, bro, like she is a gem amongst a desert, amongst a Sahara. Like she like most of my old videos, dog. It's her shooting it. I'm putting the camera in her hands. We out in freezing cold Ireland, putting the camera in her hands, and she's shooting it. Like, you know what I'm saying? A lot
Mm-hmm.
of them songs, like if you guys have a chance to listen to Prologue, Cotton Courage, she helped me write a lot of them lyrics. A lot of the lyrics on a lot of them songs, she helped me write them. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the beautiful thing about it is the Lord blessed me with her and how she is. She not only is complimentary to me as a personality, but our talents complement each other. So for me, my primary talent easily is music, and I have all these like sub talents. Like, oh, I'm a great graphic designer. I do website design, made my own website, and I do a little bit of code. I do animation design and just all kinds of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then on her flip, her main two wheelhouses, I'd say more than anything else, is fashion, like making clothes, and art, like painting.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, her sub stuff is she can sing really well. She's great at singing. She does poetry. She does all these different things. So because she actually can sing, like it's like God paired us perfectly. Because like my main thing is music. Her sub thing is music. Her main thing is art. My sub thing is art. So like it comes together. And even for me to her, I like even recently, I just now gave her idea where I'll give her little like nuggets of inspiration for like a painting. And she's trying to transition more into doing like more pieces that reflect Jesus and reflect God subtly through the painting.
Mm-hmm.
And I just be giving her ideas for that, man, and giving her like, oh, well, maybe you should try this. I'm not painting it for her because I can't paint, but she can. So I'll give her a little idea, and she'll take it and go somewhere crazy with it that I wouldn't have expected. So
Mm-hmm. Well,
huge, huge impact.
and I think it's been an awesome honor to interview you. And I want you to plug anything you want to plug, anything you're working on, anything that you want people to know. Where can people find you? All those kinds of stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, well, shoot. As of right now, I'm kind of not really working on the main things. I'm between projects because I just dropped Spanish Mall. So, first off, I'll just plug all my socials. You can find me everywhere on all platforms, dang near, under my name, which is at Malik Tijōn, MalikTijon. What I'm saying? You can find me on Spotify and everything as Malik Tijōn. But when you search me on like streaming platforms, my actual name has the O, and Tyjon has a line over it. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, and if you don't type that line, you might not find me. So Malik Tyjon, and yeah, man, I'd say just look forward to more content coming in after the holiday season. We're gearing up to move more towards preparing for Lucky Strike. but also doing stuff for Spanish Moss because we're not about to just drop that. More content coming for Spanish Moss. And yeah, man. And we'll see how I'm feeling, but I might be about to drop volume 2 of New Jerusalem, which is my like remix series where I sing over top of remix stuff. So volume 2 might be coming soon. I got some great hits on that joint. So look forward to that, y'all.